Hello, Core 3 Topic students. This is Marcos, and this is our first weekly recap briefing video. And the purpose of these videos is for me to just kind of summarize what we may have talked about in class or what we didn't talk about in class, and I wanted to make sure I got in front of you. And this will allow you guys to be able to play it at your own, on your own pace, your own time, and be able to stay up to speed with what we're doing and what next steps are. And many times I'll also show examples of projects or elaborate further on things in order to help you understand next steps and what we're doing. And then just a reminder now, no fast forward speed on this unless you got chocolate bars to spare, because I want my voice to stay in its normal original form or my body movements not to go fast. But if you must, then a chocolate bar you owe me. So let's start diving into this first week. We've had a really great week one, and I'm just so pleased with the results that we shared yesterday with your initial first content inform exercise as we explore the making of beauty, and your response to my prompt and your response to the assignment was just great to see. I want to acknowledge there was a lot to do right off the bat, the very first day of school, and you guys responded so well. I appreciated all the thoughtful viewpoints that went into how you saw the city, how you saw your world, how you fit into the bigger picture of things, and how you are proposing to potentially respond to these projects that we're going to be making together. And I think there's just a great foundation that we've built already, and now we're going to take it a little further to get us to the point where we're ready to begin the first project. So for week two, where we're looking ahead now to the next week, our workflow is going to be as such. We're going to complete the form and content exercise, the research and documentation you're doing. You're going to narrow down your concept to one, and you're going to then build further content, both in the visual and also on the text. Do some research, find some text, find some sources, build on your understanding of what you're trying to communicate, so that you have not just that knowledge, but also you have a basis of content for whatever it is you're going to produce in your publication and in your interactive piece, kind of building a storehouse of knowledge and information, both visually and in text form. And then once you've done that, I want you all to then go back to the deck you created and update that deck, add to it. Don't start a new one. Like, instead, we're building a deck showing the next chapter and putting in your further research and your conclusions. And then a reminder that we also have this other level of learning we're doing with these cross-topic video lectures online, and that our first one this week is on books by Natasha. And if you could please view that sometime between now and Tuesday, so that we can have a good discussion about it in Tuesday's class, and then be prepared on Thursday to present your final form and content deck on what your project's going to be. You're getting the full week to finish this now instead of the 2 days that you had to start it. So let's just go back in and talk about how you could be approaching this next part. So a reminder of the prompt, and as I expected, many of you, all of you in some form, took this as your jumping off point, this idea of beauty and truth beauty, and trying to put an ear to the universe to hear what are you being told to, what are the things that are speaking to you, and what can you maybe find and see and explore and discover this first week of school, that, as you have, about your world and about the things that seem unique and brilliant and beautiful. And each of you have been doing that exploration through visual documentation, whether shooting things with your camera or collecting imagery online, shooting videos, talking to people, and that's exactly the steps we should be taking. And now, as we go deeper into it, it's about you kind of focusing on what's connecting with you best in terms of what you've done so far, the various directions you've developed, thinking about what it is that we discussed in class, both the feedback I gave to you directly, the feedback that your fellow classmates gave to you, and also what you may have been thinking about as you were observing other people's presentations or commenting on other people's presentations. I know a few of you even came to me after class and said that you were influenced by other students and that you wanted to kind of bring that influence into your own project. And that's exactly right and perfect. So for sure, do that. Let's make sure that we do have observations. We do kind of put stakes in the ground and say, okay, this is what I want to do, and start to build something. But at the same time, let's not be afraid to let go of, things that we think might be important in order to go to something different. And so be willing to let go of things, but also keep a hold of things so that you can build a strong foundation, but do it in a way that grows in a proper way and that you feel confident about it. So for this next project, this is the text here that pretty much literally comes from the overall project briefing. And I know I've been kind of hemming and hawing a little bit. And the reason for that is that I'm trying to stay true to the vision of giving everyone in all the cohorts, all the different topics classes, your friends in the other classes, the same assignment. With the same time, we were encouraged to kind of bring our thing to it. So I want to kind of start with this platform of what it says, what we were given as teachers overall, and then give you kind of a little bit of room to deviate from it or customize it towards a better way, depending on your work process, your workflow, or actually where you're at right now, because many of you actually did more than the 3x5 or the 5 pieces of it. Many of you did dozens and hundreds of pieces of information, so you may have moved beyond that point. But let's read together what is that's being asked for this next part of the assignment. So what it says here is it's called 1x25x50, and it's due on Thursday, the 7th of September. So it's not going to be due on our next class. I may have said it was, but I didn't realize it wasn't. Sorry. But what we will do in the next class is after talking about the topics video and after talking about the publication design assignment that's next overall, I'll leave time for probably most of the class session for anyone who wants to meet with me in a small group or individually or however it works to do that, or to give you guys time to go home and work on your next steps on your own, or stay in class and work on your next steps. So I will make up for making most of you stay later than you wanted to this next Tuesday by having less class time and more work time. All right, but so back to this. So the first step here says, with a better sense of what makes for a successful collection, as well as what interests you, go out into the city and document 50 instances of your most successful idea or new idea. Now it says or new idea here because maybe you presented 3 ideas and maybe you thought you knew what you wanted to do, and then you got either got feedback on the idea, or you thought about it, or you looked and got inspired by other people's presentations, or lightning struck sometime between your last class and now, and you're thinking you have a better idea. And again, as I said already, feel free to do that. However, we have to put a little bit of a cap on that, and this is the time now. If you're going to change, this is the time to do it. And of course, there can be more chances in the future, but ideally, let's try to narrow in on what we want to do now, and then build the research and utilize the research. So you can be open to changing what you're doing. And if you're doing that, for sure, I want you to share that with me on Tuesday when we have our independent sessions of work time. So remember that the method of documentation is up to you, but should be consistent. So many of you have already started doing your photography, your video work, your research online based on inspiration that you find through research digitally. So continue that and start thinking about this research more in context of how can what I create now this next week become actual content for my publication and my digital work. So you're kind of building these assets that will be at your disposal once you say, okay, now it's time to work on a publication, and I've built this library of images. I've researched this text. I've had this information. I know the subject matter better. I've thought about it. I've written about it. and now I can begin to bring it together into some form of publication. So the reason it's called 25 in the name is it says here, collect 25 pieces of writing that reflect your point of view for this collection. Okay, so this is what I was given to me, and it kind of comes from a school of teaching that is not kind of my thing, which is a little bit of like, do a bunch of things, do 100 sketches and pick one. And I get that, and probably all of you have been given those kinds of assignments, and I've got nothing against it. It's just not how I work. So if you want to follow the letter of the law here and collect 25 pieces of writing, that is great, and that is amazing, in fact. However, I don't necessarily understand that. It seems like a lot to do, a lot of writing to collect, and particularly if your subject matter is very personal and it's not, some grand topic, then you're not necessarily going to be able to do that. So I would like you to follow the spirit of this request. And the spirit of this request, number 2 here, of collecting 25 pieces of writing, is more about now go beyond the idea of just collecting imagery or thinking about things or even making quick notes, but maybe begin to put together 25 or 25, let's call 25 a lot, and a lot we'll call a lot more than 10. So a lot of text documentation that you either find articles or sources in literature, or your own kind of essay writing in brief, simple form. And again, the purpose of this here, to have this writing resource. So you'll have a pool of images and you'll have a pool of writing sources that you can then use to create your magazine, if you're doing such a thing, or create your book or your zine or whatever it is you make. You now will have, after this week, not only the knowledge to do that, because you've built up visually and you build up mentally this idea further in your mind, you have it down in a digital form. So that's number 2. And then number 3, we'll take that and in the images, the new images you create, the 50 images and the 25 pieces, and bring it into one presentation. And I want you to update your deck. Don't start a new presentation. I want this to be a narrative from the beginning to the end. So it's kind of like, here comes chapter 2, and now you start a new section, fit it in before the thank you page, and continue on by adding those pieces in and having the full story in one place. There's a note here that says this seed collection of images, writing, etc., will become the jumping off point for content used for projects 1 and 2, 1 being the publication, 2 being the interactive piece. You are free to add and edit this content for project 1 and 2. So it's not like whatever you collect now, you have to use, it's like, this is, once you're working in those projects, you can add to it, you can change it, you can bring more to it. So we're not trying to rope you into anything yet. And then if I move forward here to the next page, this is sort of the assignment briefing. And what I've done here is I've taken the last assignment briefing, the bullet points that your presentation should have, and I'd grade those out. And then, so those stay. You have all the things you've already done. And then the yellow represents the things that you'll be adding, which is continue to build on your deck, updating what you have concluded as your final concept direction, add your new research content, the imagery and the text in whatever way makes the most sense to you, and create a final summary page at the end that describes your initial plans and how you might approach your publication and digital interaction pieces. And I'll add to that last, second to last before thank you page item that also maybe conclude again, like what your concept is. Like you plan to shine the light on this idea as it relates to beauty, maybe start with beauty and go to your idea so that you're kind of staying true to the prompt. And again, it doesn't have to be about beauty. It just has to start from that idea. And then put down kind of your thoughts about how you might approach your publication and your digital piece kind of as a cohesive idea. Like your goal is to showcase this concept that relates to beauty in this way, and maybe who you're talking to, talk about your audience, talk about what you want the message to be, and then talk about what those pieces might be. Like you're interested in doing a magazine, you're interested in doing a book, you're interested in doing a website, you're interested in doing an app, you're interested in creating just a fun visual experience in kind of an art exhibit way. List those. And again, you're not going to be, it's not like this is just to get you primed for next week, which is going to be about doing your publication and then in 3 or 4 weeks to do your interaction piece. So it's not, you don't have to conclude it, but you should just take it further and have a better idea of what that is. And then at the end, I left in white, the most important point of all is that you must end with a thank you page. And I think, to my horror, maybe one person didn't have a thank you page. So please add that page if you know who you are, and the rest of you did beautiful jobs of doing that. So the A-making machine is going strong. And then from there, this is just a little page that shows you where the Vimeo link is down here. And the password is, don't tell anybody, it's topics, lowercase t. And what I think I'll do is, I promise, I'll just share this deck again with everybody, and you can click right on here and go to it. And then hopefully Canvas will be up soon. Also, I'll make a new Google Drive folder to put this updated deck in and share that link. It'll be like right underneath the one we already made. And I think that covers it all. So dive into this further. You've done a great job to start. Now let's keep that energy going. Let's keep those positive vibes high. Remember, we're looking at the cup. Here's the cup is half full. It's not half empty. So keep the positive optimism as part of this, part of your mindset for this project. I really want that to be sort of the beauty aspect of it, is that we're looking towards positivity versus negativity and deconstruction. Instead, we're looking for creation and things that are wonderful and good. And that's what I want the vibe for the project as much as possible to be, within the context of New York City and the context of your worldview. And then if you have any questions or need help, reach out, email or Slack me, and then be prepared on Tuesday to talk about the video, to learn more about the book project, and then to have work time or meeting time with me. I'll just be available the whole time, and we can share within the classmates who feel like they need more help on getting directed in the proper place to be ready for Thursday. Okay, that's it, guys. Have a great weekend and a great weekend. I'll see all of you on Tuesday.